Hey everyone, and welcome to the Atomic Cinema Experiment. I am Peter, and I'm joined, as always, by Tara.
Greetings, citizens.
We are a science fiction movie podcast, and every week we get together, we talk about a sci-fi film that we watched, and this week, and sometimes, but this week in particular, we do have a bonus section talking about an episode of Mystery Science Theater 3000. We will be talking about Laser Blast at the end of the show after the movie review, so do check the timestamp if you want to jump to that or whatever. It's coming, it's there, it's at the end, so look forward to it. But the main movie we are talking about this week is Meet the Robinsons, which is kind of part of our time travel kind of theme that we kind of keep coming back to every couple of weeks, in an effort to try and see a bunch of time travel movies so that sometime early next year we can do a big time travel list of some kind. Maybe a top 10, maybe a top 25, depends how many good ones there are. So I want to explain something for the audience at the start of this one, because Tara requested Meet the Robinsons. We were putting movies down on the list to do. And
this sounds like a Peter movie. I don't know.
And Tara said, I wanted to Meet the Robinsons. And it was very clear from the description she gave me that it was a family film. And I thought, okay, she wants to do a family movie, alright. Only a couple of weeks ago, when we were getting close, she decided, hey, can we do Meet the Robinsons sooner? I don't like where it is in the schedule. Can we swap it with something else? And I said, okay, sure, whatever. So we moved it to the earliest week possible that we could without swapping something out that needed to be done. And it was, set for this week. And it was okay. And it was at that point in time that I discovered that this was an animated film. Which had not been made clear to me from one Miss Tara.
Why would that make a difference?
I'll get into my kind of obstacle with animated stuff in a minute. I'll explain that. But, so there was that revelation. And then just like the other day, literally like yesterday, the day before, when I was going to sort of like see where I could get the movie, rent it on Amazon, and I assumed when I heard it was a family film, even before I knew it was animated, I assumed, oh, this is something she grew up with, that she cared about, that she liked from her childhood. And then, she said it was animated. I'm like, fine. Again, I thought it was something you grew up with. It meant a lot to you from your childhood, and that's why you really cared about doing this. And I thought, I'll throw Tara a bone. We'll do the childhood favourite that means a lot to you, because I am a wonderful co-host, and I do things for my co-host, unless you're Connor, in which case, suck it, Connor. But...
That's a good t-shirt.
I don't know, there was that...
T-shirt for the ace. Suck it, Connor.
There was that Apple Podcast review of... I think it was the Netflix reviews almost cancelled feed. It was just basically saying that Connor was bad and I was good, and it just ended with, that Connor guy is the worst.
I like Connor.
I don't. So so at this point I go to find the movie, and I am shocked to discover from the poster that this looks like a CGI film, and then I see the year is 2007.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't want to spoil Tara's age exactly here, but let's just say that Tara was already in her 20s in 2007.
Yeah, it checks out.
So it wasn't a childhood favourite. It wasn't some film that she cared about as a kid that meant a lot to her, and that's why she wanted to do it. She put on these puppy dog eyes as if I was doing her some huge favour by picking Meet the Robinsons for this week's show.
And we were going to have to do it eventually. I just was in the mood to watch it.
I was tricked into this. There was levels to this trickery.
I regret nothing.
Listen to that cackling. You regret nothing. You know exactly what you did. Goddamn minx.
I mean, you've reviewed animated movies before. I listened to one about Sherlock Holmes Mouse Detective. Great Mouse Detective.
We never did that. I've mentioned I like it a lot.
You guys had it on like a list or something.
Yeah, it was on a list, I'm sure, but I would never reviewed Great Mouse Detective. Now, okay, let me explain something, because everyone...
It was basically a review on the list.
Oh, shut up. You're stretching things now. Right. But no, you asked me a fair question there, is why would it matter if it's animated? No, it's not that I don't like some animated films. There's actually some animated films that I love. There is. Like Iron Giant, I think, is a masterpiece. I love the How to Train Your Dragon series. I love Basil the Great Mouse Detective, as you mentioned. But Basil, yes. That's his name.
That's the title?
In the US, it didn't have Basil in the title. The UK title, though, was Basil the Great Mouse Detective. In the US, it was just the Great Mouse Detective. But his name's still Basil. Like it's not like they changed the name. They just added his name into the title.
Okay.
I don't know why. Maybe they thought the UK audience would like the name Basil. Oh, Basil!
Yeah, I mean, this won't be the last animated movie we're due, right? Like, you're naming some good ones, like The Iron Giant we haven't done yet.
Yes,
I'm sure that's on the list. I really want to do Wall-E. That was supposed to be back in May.
Why?
Pushed to 2020.
Yes. No, but you asked a fair question. Why would it matter that it's animated, right? Why do I have a it's animated? Why is that my reaction? Because that's a fair question. Because I do love some animated films, but I do find that those are kind of the exceptions, and that I have kind of this barrier with animated, this like hump that I have to get over, where I don't connect with it as easily as I do live action. So there's the cream of the crop that I love that sort of overcome that and really connect with me. But there's a lot of animated films that people love where I watch and go, it's okay. Like I don't feel
You
it
better not say Inside Out.
quite the same way.
I will stop this podcast right now.
I never said anything about Inside Out. Do you want my opinion on Inside Out?
No. I want you to hold it in, bottle it up forever, and never say it out loud.
But what if it's an opinion I know you'll like?
You can tell me that Bing Bong is magical, and that's all I need to hear.
I don't remember which one Bing Bong is, but
The imaginary friend.
Okay. That's fine.
Poor Bing Bong.
Inside Out was a solid movie. I'll leave it at that.
What did I just say?
I said it was a solid movie. It's a solid movie.
What did I just say? It's like you don't even listen to me.
I do listen to you. When you say you want to meet the Robinsons, I listen to you, and I'm regretting it every minute since, so don't give it to me about listening to you. Oh, dear. But I do have this hump to get over, whereas a lot of anime movies don't. And I think there, is something where a lot of animation to me just doesn't have the magic that an actual performance does, where I see the face. Like, I think maybe there's some a lot of traditional animated styles don't click with me, with the how they look or whatever. They don't have quite the look for me. It's because it's funny, because I do read a lot of comic books, of course, right? And comic books can live or die on the art style, and some art styles I love, and it's atmospheric and moody, and I love it, and it really nails what I want from a story about whatever character. And then sometimes I look at it and go, this isn't right. I don't like this art because it's not selling me the emotion, or it's not doing this for me. I have this kind of barrier with animated films where a lot of animated films, I just, I don't hate them, but I just don't really ever feel anything, and I find myself getting kind of bored and tuning out. In a lot of animated films.
I don't have that problem.
So that's all I'm saying. I think that.
I will say that there are some studios that I do have a harder time with than like Disney is safe. If it's a Disney animated movie, it's probably going to look good. I will say that this is an exception to that. I don't think the animation in this is top tier Disney.
Well, to be
I think
fair,
it struggles, especially because it came a year before Wall-E, which is one of the most beautiful animated movies to look at.
Nah, so you're making a false comparison there, because Wall-E's Pixar. This is not Pixar.
That's true. This is Disney right before it acquired Pixar.
No, Disney had Pixar. No, Disney had Pixar, but there's two studios here. There's Disney Animation and there's Pixar. They don't overlap. Pixar make Pixar movies.
They do eventually.
Okay, maybe they overlap now, but they didn't for a long time. And until probably Frozen and then Big Hero 6, Disney movies that weren't Pixar, that were CG animated, tended to be kind of lukewarm, mediocre films no one really cared about. No one talked about Bolt. No one cared about Bolt. Is that
a good movie?
Sure, whatever. But no one cared about Bolt.
Foxy and I watch it all the time.
People care about Pixar movies. No one cared about the Disney ones that were coming out around that time.
I mean, that's true. And there's still, there are still exceptions to that too. Like was the Good Dinosaur movie, which I thought was actually pretty great.
Mm.
But it has a look to it where it's just like, this doesn't look as good as the other movies. Like,
Yeah, because that was like one of the Pixar movies where people said that's weird. It doesn't feel like a Pixar movie. It feels like a Disney movie and not a Pixar movie. So again, not to be confused here, Disney and Pixar and have for a long ass time, but there's Pixar movies and then there's just Disney separate on its own animation studios making movies.
But I'm pretty sure they're the same now.
But they're still clearly.
I'm pretty sure Disney and Pixar are just the same company now.
No, but I mean, arguably, but they're still labeled separately. There's still films that come out that are labeled Pixar, and there's ones that come out that are just labeled Disney. There's still a separation in terms of how they're released. So
maybe they're keeping it like Fox Searchlight or something.
Oh, maybe, yeah. But they treat Pixar like its own little sub. You know, they treat Pixar like not. It's not like Marvel in that they've got a shared universe. But I mean, well, there's Easter eggs people point out. But
there's a ton in this movie.
They treat it as a singular sort of on its own thing. Although definitely some personnel switch between them. I think Lasseter, at one point made a big jump to Disney, and I think that's when Disney movies started getting better.
Didn't Lasseter have something to do with this movie too? Even though he's Pixar?
I don't know.
It's directed by Stephen J. Anderson.
My timeline for all this stuff isn't like set in stone. I don't know. He's not listed in the producers or the writers even. Let me go down to producers.
Well, those are the big ones.
He's listed as an executive producer, but that doesn't necessarily mean much.
How many writers are there?
Oh, there's like 7 or something like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 screenplay writers, and it's based on a book by someone else.
Yeah. Okay, because I had heard that this one had gone through John Lasseter, and he said, you guys need to do it again. And
sure.
They replaced like 60% of the movie or something crazy.
So, anyway.
Yeah, so I get it. There are some studios like... My sister works for DreamWorks, but DreamWorks has a bit of a hump to get over before I can be like, all right, the critics are saying it's good, I'll go see it.
Hey.
Sorry.
I don't typically like DreamWorks movies, but How to Train Your Dragon trilogy is better than almost everything Pixar have made, so...
Hard disagree, but they're fine movies. Great music. Weird casting.
Wonderful music.
But Illumination, I don't like any of their stuff. I don't. Even when it's a movie that doesn't have a minion in it, all I see are minions.
Oh, I've seen Despicable Me 1.
They use the same design for everything and the same banana dialogue. I can't stand it.
Banana. Yeah. I've seen Despicable Me 1. I've not seen anything else they've done. But there's much loved ones. Like people loved like Catherine.
Coraline,
that's it. I didn't like that. Nothing for me.
Yeah, it's okay. I know a lot of kids really like it because I think it's the closest thing they have to horror. Like they know what they're watching isn't right.
Sure.
And I think they like it for that. But
I mean, Frankie.
I'm not a big fan of it either.
Frankie, when he was Tim Burton, so naturally I hated that. I was dragged to that. That was the first Tim Burton movie I saw in like over a decade because I was dragged to it.
I think that's still Disney, isn't it?
Maybe still be Disney, yeah. However, Paranorman was not bad. Although Paranorman, it had nothing to do with the animation. Paranorman was fun to me because it was playing with a lot of horror tropes. I mean, the kids' ringtone was the Halloween theme. They were playing to me as an audience with that movie.
Yeah.
But
I love it when movies do that.
But but it's not just about that. There's Disney movies I don't like. There's Pixar movies that I think are just kind of dull, and it's not that they're bad. It's not that I think they're poorly done. It's just I just never really care or connect with them. It doesn't really matter what they're doing.
That is bizarre to me. I think you need to go see somebody.
I fell asleep in the middle of Frozen. In the theater.
Frozen's so good.
I fell asleep in the theater.
What about the trailer for the second one? You don't think that looks pretty good?
That was a good trailer. Epic. It was a good trailer. Okay, I give them that. By the way, can I just say it was weird to me actually in this movie that the phrase "Let It Go" is uttered a few times, and then the song at the end that's playing during a montage starts with "Let it go, let it wash over you," and I was like, "This is like 3 years before Frozen. This is really funny to me."
I really like Frozen. It's not my favorite, of course, but like, it's a movie about sisters, and I have a sister. Like,
The
of course I'm like it.
the only Disney CG animated movie I think I like is Big Hero 6. That surprised me, that one.
That's like my least favorite one.
But that played to my sensibilities though, because that kind of had the friendly robot, had the heroic. You know, it was basically a How to Train Your Dragon knockoff. Like he was basically his Toothless was the robot.
Okay.
Right. It played to my.
Isn't it based off of a
Marvel
comic?
thing? Yeah, it's based off. I'd never heard of it when it came out, but yeah, it's technically based off a Marvel thing, which is why Stan Lee's got a cameo.
Okay, I don't think it's Toothless, because Toothless is basically a cat, and that's why you like Toothless.
I'm not saying it's exactly the same. I'm saying his relationship that builds with him and all that.
But the big balloony guy
yes,
is, I don't know what he is. I don't think he's a cat. He's more like
he's a friendly robot.
Harry from Harry and the Hendersons, but like a balloon shaped one.
Sure.
Like he's just a giant.
I think there's a comparison still to be made, even if it's not exactly the same type of personality.
Okay.
I'm saying the kid forms a bond with them, and you really care about this friendship. This.
Yeah. All right.
Right. There was something
It's a
there.
robot. We'll probably review it maybe next year.
Okay, yeah, it kind of counts as sci-fi. We could do that at some point. We could do that.
I should watch it again. I've only seen it once.
But I've not even bothered seeing a lot of the Pixar stuff that came out recently. I've had no motivation. I was
I can
dragged
see why maybe you feel weird going by yourself to a movie to see it.
because I've done it in the past. I remember seeing Toy Story 3 in my own theaters in like 2010.
Yeah.
And that was a weird experience because it was all families with kids, and I'm like this one weirdo with a beard.
Right. Like you always want to go at night
Do you know?
to a kids movie. If you go, like when I go alone, like I don't go during the day either. But also I don't want to have to deal with like kids running around in the aisles and not sitting still in their seat,
Absolutely.
crying.
And then, yeah. So I love the Toy Story trilogy. I've still not seen 4. You know, I really like The Incredibles. I've still not seen the second one. I've not seen what else did Pixar do recently. I think the last Pixar movie I saw was maybe Monsters University.
Oh, that's disappointing. You should watch another one because that one had a really good ending, but like the rest of the movie was just kind of okay.
It had a nice message at the end of it, I think. But yeah, it wasn't like a great movie.
Yeah.
Through and through.
But when Sully goes into like the real world and like that campground, awesome movie. I want to watch that horror movie.
You know, I really, obviously, I mean, the last animated movie I saw was obviously Into the Spider-Verse, which looked fantastic and was fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's not because it was a superhero
That
movie.
one's real special.
It looked genuinely like exciting because it looked different and it had a style that looked fresh and unique, and it felt like it had atmosphere because of that style. That's one where the actual look of the animation made me go, ooh, that looks spectacular. I want to see this. And most CG animation doesn't do that for me. Most of it looks kind of like sort of round and soft, and like everyone kind of has that
I
look to
agree.
it.
I mean, that's why even though I'm a fan of Star Wars, I don't watch any of the Star Wars cartoons.
Oh, yeah.
Like you can't force me to watch them. Even if they're canon, I don't want to watch that.
Yeah,
it looks weird, and it's for kids. You know, I'm happy they have something like if it comes up in a movie, they'll be like, "Oh, it's that character from that show." I'll be like, "I'll take your word for it."
This will mean nothing in the context of like when you guys listen to or watch this, but I just want everyone to know that Tara's on a roll tonight because the thing we recorded before this, she kind of half insulted like a lot of people potentially that watch our content, and I feel like she just kind of did it again there by like making fun of the Star Wars like animated series. Oh, they're cartoons for kids. Like, I don't care that they're canon.
I love Star Wars. I can't watch the cartoons. I tried watching a couple episodes because everyone's like, it's Thrawn. He's such an intimidating villain in like the books, and this is going to be his introduction, and he's probably going to appear in the live action movies eventually. And I couldn't do it.
Yeah, no, I get it.
It's just not for me.
There's definitely like a threshold for me. I think, you know, some of the things that surpass it still for me as an adult. I think Batman the animated series looks fantastic. It fits the style of what Batman should be, and it looks engrossing because of that to me, and I get into it.
Yeah, I'll watch anything Matt Groening makes.
Oh yeah.
It's an animation that never gets old.
you know, I just like there's something about animation for me just doesn't quite always work. And I got a lot of complaints actually because me and Connor reviewed episode 1 of The Dark Crystal on Netflix a couple months ago when that came out, and I kind of went on a very similar kind of speech about, you know, why I'm not super into a lot of animation. And there was like people that come out be like, "Oh, if you don't like animation, don't talk about it then. Don't bother reviewing the thing." And if you're still listening to our content, I apologize that I just made fun of you. But like, I feel like it's good for context here to sort of explain my ambivalence towards some of this stuff.
Got it.
And with that, we'll start actually talking about Meet the Robinsons, which is a time travel movie indeed about an orphaned boy named Lewis, who is a bit of an inventor. He likes to build things and try to invent things, and it always sort of ends in disaster. And he's kind of obsessed with finding out who his mother was. There's a shot at the start where his mother's dropping him off in like a little box at the orphanage, and it really reminded me of the opening of the Super Mario Brothers movie. Like, that's what it made me think of.
That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of it. I was just like, I know I've seen this shot before.
When Daisy's
Something
left
else.
at it's like, because I think in that movie it's like a
She's
nun
even
who
wearing
opens
like
the door.
the same colored raincoat.
Yeah. Oh dear. I almost expected like the Brooklyn accent to come in like, dinosaurs. They ruled the earth for 65 million years. That's not a Brooklyn accent. I can't do it. But you know, like, man, we have to do that movie someday. It's absolutely insane.
Every time you try to do an accent, you always just sound more Scottish.
Fine, but I just want to say the start of the Super Mario Bros. Movie where the narrator has a thick Brooklyn accent and he's talking about dinosaurs, and his narration reads, and I shit you not, it says, "Dinosaurs died because of the asteroid. But what if they didn't? What if they found a way to survive? What if they found a way to come back?" I'm like, what? You can't just say that!
It took them 65 million years to do that? Technically, birds are also dinosaurs, so they never really went away.
No one likes to know all, Tara. So the plot is that this other kid who's just a little bit older comes from the future, claiming that he's a time cop. Shout out to Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Loved it.
And he's like, "Hey, now there's this evil villain with a bowler hat who's coming after you, and we have to make sure your inventions aren't like stolen or whatever." And it leads to an adventure into the future with some very obvious twists, might I say, where look at that face. Tara is disgusted by that critique.
First of all, I don't believe you. Second of all, keep going.
Oh no, it was so obvious. It was so obvious. I called.
Well, I mean, one of them maybe yes. But
I called
other
both.
ones, I don't think so.
I called both plot twists super
Screw
early.
you.
Super
no
early.
way. No way.
Yes way.
I don't believe you.
I did.
I don't believe you. I think you're lying. I think you're
not
Mr.
lying.
Hoity-toity right now, saying I'm too good for this movie.
Well, I am too good for this movie, but I'm not lying.
You are not.
I am too.
Mr. Holier than thou on your ivory tower looking down on these piddly animation movies that Tara wants to watch because her little brain can only process movies for kids. Screw you. Okay. Continue.
So yeah, he goes into the future, he meets this kid's family, and the villains like try to unleash his dastardly plan. He's got the twirly mustache, he's got these big long lanky legs. He's very forgive the expression, animated in his design. Everyone else looks cartoony, but this guy looks especially cartoony. His proportions are all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like if he was fatter, he'd be Dr. Robotnik with the big long lanky legs, but the body's kind of more normal shaped.
Yeah, he's very he's literally twirling a mustache.
Yes. So,
but he's also very kid villain.
Oh yeah.
Like kids might find him a bit scary, but not too scary. But he's also kind of a doofus, so he's not really that scary.
Yeah, I don't think kids would find him scary. I don't think I'd have found him scary as a kid.
Maybe real young.
I was watching Die Hard at 5, right? Hans Gruber was a scary villain at 5.
Okay, Mr. Ivory Tower.
Oh man, so you're watching Die Hard.
Here you go again on your high horse.
So you're watching Die Hard at like a 5-year-old, and like Hans Gruber, like Alan Rickman's like, that's a really nice suit, Mr. Takagi. Be ashamed to ruin it. Like, oh, he's great.
I brought you the FBI.
You asked for a solution. You asked for a miracle. I brought you the FBI. That's great. It's so good. Die Hard, right? I joked about this in like something we recorded last week, but I'm saying it. I think every month or two we need to do one episode that's like a spin-off thing where it's not a sci-fi movie. We'll change the name and the logo for an episode and do an action movie.
Yeah, why not?
Because I really want to talk about some dumb 90s action movies and 80s action movies. Anyway, but yeah, the twists were really obvious. That's all I'm saying.
Just move on.
Well, that's the plot. I don't want to say anything else because anything else would be spoilers. So, so I'll ask the question. Although, given that Tara practically begged to do this movie and do it as soon as humanly possible, I'm going to take a giant leap here and say that she liked it. Or maybe this will be a twist. Maybe this will be the opposite of Alita, where I'm going to expect she liked it. And she's going to be like, you know what? It doesn't hold up. It's not as good as I thought it was. It's actually kiddie shit. And I want no part of it. And Peter, you're right. You're a genius. You're drop dead gorgeous. And I recede and rescind everything that I said previously. I'm sorry, Peter. You are the master of the universe. Q Queen.
Yeah, I like the movie, all right? The movie is just nothing but heart and joy, and there are scenes that like I don't love, but I think I like the twist at the end, which I remember the first time watching it, I did not see coming. And because I thought it was actually very clever and really sweet and really well done. So I like this movie.
There's a tone there with that. I like this movie. And in the stare that you're giving me right now, yes. I can feel the daggers.
I wanted to watch this movie because I knew I would like it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to watch something I knew I would like. Okay, I wanted to watch something that made me happy, and this one worked.
I'm sorry, did Terminator Genesis not make you happy?
No. Although you can see my full thoughts on the review, which is up currently.
Yes. Yes, so I guess we're at the point now where I say if I liked it or not, right? That's where we are. You've said that you like it. That's how you feel.
What did you think?
That's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. It's not offensive. It's fine. It's not particularly good. It's not particularly bad. It's got a couple of little jokes in there I like. There's one scene where the villain's arguing with a frog who's repeating everything he says. I thought that was a witty little scene.
I agree.
I wasn't super into the wacky family in the future and their antics. The movie kind of slowed down for me there a little bit, because it was too many characters. There was just a lot of weird characters.
Yeah, there's too many characters.
Yeah, doing lots of random things, and like I immediately got where it was going. Not to come back about the twist bit, but it was very clear to see. I can't say this without spoiling it. Oh, right, I'll move on from there. I'll just say that I think it's perfectly fine and perfectly serviceable, but I think there's a reason why, until you brought it up, I think I vaguely remember this being advertised once I saw like images from it, like yesterday. I'm like, okay, I vaguely remember this existing, but I think there's a reason why until you made a point of saying, hey, we're doing this, I didn't remember this existed, because no one really talks about it, because it's just fine, it's just okay.
Yeah, I think Disney also sort of made it go away as well. Like, I don't think they were particularly proud of this one.
Which is funny,
especially because I don't remember a lot of advertising for it either.
It's funny because it ends with a Disney quote.
Yeah, I really love the beginning and the ending of the film, like the first third and the last third. The
Mm.
middle, I agree. Like it gets a little overwhelming with the amount of characters, and it gets a little too silly sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
There's like too many. Um, I don't know. It's like there's too many jokes
Sure. Yeah.
in it. Um, but there are some really good scenes. Like the stuff with the frogs is really funny. There's a T-Rex scene that I really like too. It's really funny. A lot of the comedy really works for me, and I think a lot of the heart really works for me too.
I mean, the heart's fine. I feel like it's doing, the typical thing. Like, I didn't feel like it was doing anything. I think what makes good Pixar stick out, right? And I'm talking like golden age Pixar here, because I do think we're past the prime of Pixar. I think there was a time where they started doing a lot more sequels, where it kind of turned, around Good Dinosaur. Not that was a sequel, because obviously it wasn't, but like,
Did you see that one?
no, I didn't see that one. Because
It's actually pretty good. It's a Western.
that was the same year as Inside Out, I think, right?
Yes.
Let's say that was, yeah. I think it was. I think for me, Toy Story 3 like marks the end of their like their golden period, where it almost, with the exception of the Cars movies, like everything they were putting out was like some level of gold. And I think what separates Pixar in that period from this type of film is that I think, yeah, the message in this is fine, the heart that there's fine, but the thing with Pixar is that I always feel like it was doing something clever with it. Like I always felt like it was almost like, we reviewed Twilight Zone. Pixar had this neat way of taking an idea and applying it to something, like toys coming to life, or like a family of superheroes like Incredibles, or Up, which is, the old man in a house with balloons.
Yeah.
And giving it a lot of heart, but doing it with this kind of this tact, like where you could almost feel like this creative. Whereas this does feel more just a kids movie to me.
Yeah, I agree, but it's fun for like the parents too, because there's a lot of references and there's a lot of
Sure.
like there's a lot of humor that I think works outside of just being a kid.
I will say this though, there's a scene early on that clearly shows why peanut butter and jelly is the worst thing in the world and is a dangerous weapon that should not be utilized.
You're still alone in this.
I am not alone. I'll be honest.
You are
see
a
when,
man on an island.
see when there was the threat of this peanut butter and jelly like gun essentially like going to like malfunction, and the two like adults were backing away in horror. Did you think of me a little? Because I was thinking of me as they were backing away, and I was like, no.
I was thinking that guy probably has a peanut allergy.
No, peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah, maybe a little.
Yeah, peanut butter is great. I'm not going to say a bad word about peanut butter on its own. Peanut butter is delightful.
What about jelly on its own?
Well, it depends. What do you mean exactly by jelly? Because what I call jelly and what you call jelly aren't the same thing.
Okay.
You're closer to jam.
The type that you put on a sandwich.
Yes, that I like. What you call Jello, however, which is what I call jelly, I hate with every fiber of my being. Food should not move on its own. It is unnatural, and kill it with fire. Thank you.
Well, we've been over this before because we have jams also. Jams like usually have the seeds in them. It's just like pureed fruit with a lot of sugar in it, and jellies tend to be more like, gelatinous, almost like they have like you can get.
Yeah, I don't think we use that.
Like the cranberry sauce that comes in a can that looks like Jello, like cranberry Jello, like that's jelly.
No, I don't, because I literally never had cranberry sauce. It's really not a thing here.
Oh, okay.
Because we're learning things. We're learning
Right.
things.
I don't know what gooseberry is, so.
I don't think we have jelly, as you say. I always assumed it was jam until you said to me, no, we have jams too. Jelly's kind of this in-between thing that goes on a sandwich.
Yeah.
So, but it's always looked like jam though, whenever I see it in a movie or something like that. Like it's always looked just like jam. But I don't know. Could just be plain tricks. Anyway, PB&J is the worst. You shouldn't be mixing them in the discussion.
It's such a neutral sandwich. It's so good.
And Inside Out's a solid movie, but not Pixar's best. What would you like to review next? I feel like I'm going to have to give you your way for the next like 5 episodes. What would you like next week, Tara?
I don't even know what's on next week.
I will start the Forgiveness
Not a time
tour
travel,
now.
not a Terminator, so
Yeah, well,
who knows?
well, we technically will be doing a Terminator next week, but it'll already be up by the time this goes live.
That's right. We're getting Dark Fate.
Because Dark Fate's
Woo!
coming. Well, that's a good point.
Well, I really like this movie. I don't know. Like, I agree that the animation is sort of in between when it was bad and when it got good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's in this like weird in between moment where it looks a little. There are details in it, but there's a lot of details that are missing to make it look special, or where it looks clean. Like, it looks too polished almost.
Do you know what the
Like,
sad part is I actually kind of like how goofy looking the villain is. I just wish
I
everyone
love
else.
the design of the villain.
Yeah, I just wish that everyone else kind of felt like they lived in the same world as him, but they don't. They all look
He's
really
got
generic.
like rotted teeth and stuff, and there's a ton of detail on him that makes him look really good. And like the emotions are there, like the way they smile, and like the emotions come through really well in the animation, but it's something about the world looks too like almost like a toy, like it has like this vinyl look to it
Mhm.
that I don't really like very much, but you know, I tolerate it because I think the movie and the world it creates is really cool.
Okay, I will no longer rain in your parade. My fun's over.
I mean, you can talk about animation. This is a review.
I mean, the animation. It's weird for me talking about animation though, because I feel like for me it's not about how good the actual animation itself is. It's more about what the aesthetic of the animation is, and I just think this movie looks really bland. Basically, but I also think other movies that people love look kind of bland to me, because and even ones I love, like I love How to Train Your Dragon, but I don't think it has a great look to it. I think it's great for a lot of other reasons, but there's just something about that CGI sort of soft edge face that I just think looks a bit dull, and doesn't have anything going for it. You know, I would take something a bit more artful over it any day of the week. Like, and it's funny because I also don't really like anime, but like, so there's not a lot of animation styles I like, admittedly. But I feel like if you could take like a lot of comic book art that I like and translate it into just being on the screen, I would love that. But
Yeah, this movie was originally supposed to be live action.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
It's based off of a book, what you mentioned earlier with the writers.
Yeah. Yes, the book's called A Day with Wilbur Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Never read it.
Nor me.
But I don't think it's set in the future. I think it's just about a boy named Lewis who meets Wilbur Robinson and meets his entire family, and they're all like pretty kooky, and they're trying to like find his grandpa's dentures that he lost, which is the scene we get in the movie. And that I think all the characters are from the book. That's why there's so many of them. But I agree, there's too many characters.
Yeah, they really need to cool that down a little bit. I guess we'll get to spoilers because I don't know what else I really want to talk about without. But before we start the spoiler section, Tara, why don't you tell everyone at home how they can support us financially?
You can check out our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/MouthLetsTV. Donations as little as $1 per month will get you a bunch of bonus stuff. Like you get our outtakes now where we tangent for too long. Who knows? There might be stuff from this episode already. And you get bonus episodes, including Time Cop, which was mentioned earlier. Definitely worth that $1.
By the time this goes up, the last one will definitely be Transfers 2. That's
nice.
That's coming soon. Because we did Transfers 1, so Transfers 2 has to come. Because there's a whole franchise there of like 6 movies that need to be need to be done. So
we'll spread them out.
Yeah, we'll spread them out. Yeah, but yeah, we didn't do Transfers 1 last month. We did something else. Can't remember what. Leviathan. That's what we did last month. You're right. Yeah. You're right. So yeah, go to Patreon and check out all the stuff that's on offer. So then, yes, let's talk about twists because we're in spoilers now, and I want to talk about things. And so yes, I like as soon as there was the dumb joke about, oh, what does your dad look like? Oh, Tom Selleck. I'm like, okay, Lewis is his father. This is his son from the future. no shit. Of course this is where this is going. Of course when the family want to adopt him, the reason why they decide that they're not going to adopt him is because the wife goes, wait a minute, that's my husband as a kid, and he's from the past. He has to go back to the past so I can meet my husband. You stupid teenage son of mine, bringing him to the future. You're in so much trouble. And then, yeah, it was also extremely obvious that the roommate who likes baseball was going to be the villain, right? That was...
No, it was not.
It was so telegraphed, right? You're telling me from the scene where he talks to him, where the villain talks to the young baseball kid, you didn't get that he was talking to himself?
Yeah, I got that, like, later on, but, like, not at first.
No, as soon as he even takes a second to talk to this kid, where he's had no interest in talking to anyone the whole movie, but he talks to this baseball kid, it's like, no, this is you. You're talking to yourself. This is the villain. This is the arch nemesis.
No, I did not see that coming.
Well,
I will admit it.
Well,
and I don't think I'm alone in that. I think you're just Mr. High Horse.
It's fine. You know what, Tara?
Movie analyst.
It's fine. I will happily rent you a room on the Ivory Tower, but I'm just saying the movie. It just, I don't know. Like, and I'm not saying it's a big deal that I saw them coming. It was just, you know what? We've been watching a lot of time travel movies, right? And there's a lot of really sort of straightforward things that time travel movies like to do. And I think what's really fun about something like Time Crimes or something like that is that you do kind of start to piece it together because it gives you enough to kind of start kind of thinking ahead. But what it does is that it gives you what you think, but then adds another little twist onto it. And I think that's how you make time travel works.
Time Cop is amazing.
I was saying time crimes, but Time Cop.
Oh yes.
Also, sure.
Time Crimes also, yeah, very good.
Whereas this, I kind of feel like it just does the really obvious things, and again, this is where it feels like it's for kids. It's like, it's almost like, well, it's going to be kids watching this, so we'll do the tropey obvious things, and we'll just play them straight as if they're meant to be big deals, without, doing anything else to make them interesting.
Yeah.
I know, I'm being harsh. I'm being a grumpy poo. I know that.
I get it. You don't like animated films that are meant for kids. I get it.
The movie was boring, okay? I was bored.
It's not even that, like, it's not a hard watch. Like, it's easy to watch. It's got, like, the pacing for the most part is pretty good. In the middle, like, I don't love, but that's okay. It's...
Hold on a second. Were you beeping at me there for a second? There was a beep.
Yeah, it's my work phone.
Okay, right. I just wanted to know I wasn't going crazy.
I checked it out there. Like, ooh, work phone.
All right, well, I guess we work through to the plot, I suppose. So he's an orphan. Boo-hoo. Oh, I'm an orphan. Oh.
Orphans have it so hard. No, like the director was an orphan. That's why he wanted to, or was adopted. That's why he wanted to make the movie. Yeah,
I'm cracking jokes. I'm saying that for shock value, but I just want to bring up my favorite line on the entirety of both seasons of The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina is when one of the girls finds out she's actually the daughter of the headmaster dude, right? And she's all proud to be a part of this evil family, this lineage, and she's all like happy to be his daughter. And she's like part of a trio. Like, she's these two best friends who they're like sisters to her who always follow her around. And as I see at a party where one of them says, "Are we your daughters too?" and he responds deadpan with, "No, you're just orphans." I love that line.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
I love that line so much. So he's an orphan, and he keeps ruining his interviews with potential parents, and he's like 12 years old now, which is starting to get a bit old to be adopted. Typically parents who are adopting want to go younger because they want it to be the more the full, as full of the experiences they can get. Because if they can't have kids naturally, they want to get someone who's really young, like 3, 4, whatever, because they want to start in at the ground up as best they can.
Apparently, it's difficult for teenagers to be adopted. Yeah.
Yeah, and Lewis is kind of giving up hope, and he's showing them off his peanut butter jelly invention. Almost kills the dad or the potential dad because he's peanut allergy, and he's been keeping count. He's at like 105 interviews and counting that he's failed. No one wants him. Everyone at school is scared of him because every time he brings in an invention, it ends up exploding or whatever. There's a little gag here where like every kid in class puts on like a football helmet or something when he goes to turn on his device. And sure enough, it does.
Teachers too.
Yeah, and the teachers too. But of course, not long before, because he tries to build this device to. It's like, my mother's face will be in my mind because I saw her as a baby, and I want to know who she is. I want to find her. So, he tries to build a device to extrapolate memories and put them on a screen, from your mind.
He gets the idea from a science fiction movie poster about brain scanners.
He does, yeah.
Brain
And
scanners from outer space.
he comes into the science fair. He's got his device, and this is where Wilbur. There you go.
That's not a name. Wilbus.
Is Wilbur a name?
Yeah.
I have never heard of Wilbur before in my life.
Okay.
I thought it was meant to be like
a admittedly not one that gets used very much anymore, but it's a real name.
I know. I thought it was like supposed to be like a weird sci-fi future name.
Wilbur?
Yeah.
No.
I've never heard Wilbur before.
A famous like Wilbur horse?
I've heard of William. That's normally what Will's short for.
Let's see what comes up first.
Maybe Willis, perhaps?
Wilbur Ross, United States Secretary of Commerce.
Oh yeah, because I'm up to date on my U.S. Secretary of Commerce's.
Wilbur the pig. Wilbur Wright. All very famous Wilburs.
Wilbur Wright. That sounds
one
like
of the Wright brothers. He's one of the Wright brothers.
That sounds like you're saying, "Well, we're right." Wilbur Wright.
Wilbur Wright.
All right. Anyway, so Wilbur shows up and he's like, "I'm a time cop," and we got evil man in bowler hat sort of going around sneaking about, and he uses his hat. It's like a robot hat that has like a mind of its own and has like robot legs. It comes out and it goes and sabotages the device because he wants to take it for himself and basically ruin this kid's future. He's got a vendetta, and this was one of the hints that it was going to turn out to be the roommate. Just FYI. I'll keep you informed, Tara, as we go. Don't worry.
You don't know that he has a vendetta at first. You just know that he wants to steal this invention.
Sure. Okay, we don't know that yet. I'm just saying. I'm saying what his goal is.
Right.
In a broad sense. And he tries to go to this meeting to show off to this big business mogul, and it doesn't work because it's still sabotaged. It's not working. He's someone to fix it. He doesn't know how.
Right, and it's the first scene where you realize, oh, doesn't know what he's doing. He's not the one in charge here. Like, he's a buffoon.
Yes. And
maybe more so. He's just an idiot.
Wilbur is here because the bowler hat man stole the time machine, the car that he used to travel back, because there's two in existence. And he brought the second one back and he's trying to find it, and it's his fault because we find out later, of course, that he left the garage door open, and that's why he's like trying to fix all this before his dad finds out. Mm-hmm. And that was the other big hint. If you didn't get it when we didn't get to see who the dad was, when we got to see who everyone else was, as soon as he started talking about how his dad builds things and invents things, I'm like, well, I wonder who this could be.
Yeah, I don't think this one was meant to be really all that hidden. For kids probably, but I think any adult watching it would be like, all right, like we get it.
Yes.
This one was not a surprise to me.
Yes. It's a reverse Kyle Reese.
Yes, exactly.
To put it in terms that we understand as science fiction fans. So no, I mean we have that, and like he doesn't really tell him anything at first, but he does show up on the roof to try and convince him to not like give up his dreams of being an inventor. He's like, no, you have to do these things, like invent things, do it. But of course, Bowler Hat shows up, and they have to run and jump, and he escapes by taking him to the future, and he tries to hide him. We meet his robot, and he ends up
Rocket Man.
Yes, and he tries to hide his. Wait, is it?
Yeah, it's Harlan Williams. It's Rocket Man himself.
I can't believe you somehow tricked me into watching two films with Harlan Williams.
Just getting them out of the way early. That's all.
Why would you have to get them out of the way early? Like, it's not like there's things that need to be done. Do you know what I hate the review for Rocket Man, which when it first went up was going really slow and did really badly compared to a lot of the other stuff, and I thought that was quite funny, just as a but it's actually been ticking up, slowly but surely, that it's like middle of the pack now, and I'm like,
I know what the people want. They want a Rocket Man review.
I don't even.
Yeah.
Yeah. But of course, Lewis escapes and ends up running into the mother. No, it's not even the mother actually. It's
Grandpa.
Grandpa, yeah. And he ends up showing him around the place, and we get to meet all the other family members. Like I say, there's too many of these characters. I couldn't even begin to tell you who they all are or describe them all.
Oh, me neither. Yeah.
There's a couple of key
There's one
ones.
that looks like a superhero, but he's actually a pizza delivery guy.
Yeah, obviously the mum sticks out because she's the one who's like teaching frogs to sing,
Mm-hmm.
and that's like whatever. But he ends up staying for dinner, and like they all love him, and it's like, oh, he's an orphan. Oh, we'll adopt him. And this is obviously at the point in the film where he has to like come clean and the hat comes off. Although I think the T-Rex attacks in between these two bits, if I remember right. I think because essentially Bowler Hat Man uses his bowler hat to try and control a frog. There's this really funny scene where he's like, "Are you repeating everything I say? Are you repeating everything I say?" And then he's like, "Wait, did you say that because you're not repeating everything I say now, or because you agree?" No. Well, good then. And then he repeats what he said again. I don't know. It was a funny scene. It was a wait a little written scene.
Master.
Yes.
I love the way the frog says master. Yeah, I mean, she's teaching all the frogs to sing, but they all sing in English. So in the future, the frogs are very much like the Rat Pack kind of crew,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, where they're all very mobster-ish or Frank Sinatra.
I'm not gonna
era.
lie. My biggest problem with the plot of this movie is that the future they show us does not feel like it's just one generation away. It feels like it's hundreds of years in the future.
Yeah, definitely. This is the future that is like, okay, we're going to start. I guess we just obliterate everything on Earth and start over.
Yeah, but it's like, no, we're
But-
going to be here in 25, 30 years. Like, yeah, right.
Yeah. I can see that too being an issue. Maybe in like 100 years we can stretch that.
Push.
Think about what 100 years ago in America looked like was very different. So
Yeah, 100 years is different. That's true.
I like that people travel through bubbles and tubes, and everything looks so bright and optimistic, and like we figured everything
Well, who
out.
wouldn't love going through a tube? That it's like just a big chute. It's like being a kid again. I'll just ride the chute down to the other building. That seems like fun.
Yeah, it seems awesome. Oh, I don't know what you do about the static electricity, because I've always had that trouble with slides as a kid.
Where are we? Oh yes, villain used his hat to control a T-Rex, and the T-Rex. He went back in time, got a T-Rex, used the hat to control it. Which actually, looking back on it now, is very Super Mario Odyssey.
Yeah, I agree.
Because the trailer, if you remember the first big trailer for Super Mario Odyssey, it opened with a T-Rex, and everyone was like, "Oh, what game is this? This is weird." And then it had a Mario hat, and I was like, "It's Mario!" And it was that big moment.
Yep.
Um,
And you can control the T-Rex with a hat. I
Yep.
wonder where they got that idea from.
are you saying that?
It has a good joke payoff though, because when he's controlling, or when the hat is controlling the frog, and he's like, "All right, now go in there, grab the boy, and drag him out here and throw him in the spaceship or whatever, in the time machine." And he's like, "Why aren't you doing it?" It's like, "Well, it's just he's so big, and I have these little arms, and I don't think that this plan was very well thought out, Master."
Yeah, and likewise with the T-Rex is that the T-Rex will pick them up by biting them and therefore probably kill them and eat them.
Yeah, he's like, "Just grab the boy," and has him in a corner, but he can't get to him because his head's too big and his arms are too small, and you just don't think this plan was really well thought out, Master. I mean, the whole movie's worth it for this great joke.
I beg to differ.
I saw this movie in the theater, and like the theater was rolling with laughter.
You know what, Tara? We see eye to eye in many a movie. In fact, I think if you go back through the 30 previous episodes, 31 previous episodes even, you'll see that we get very close on our scores across the board, with maybe just one or two exceptions. This is definitely
I just have a little bit more joy in my life.
One
I
of these
guess.
outliers.
Well, what did you think of the time travel in Meet the Robinsons?
How does a time machine work? Who knows? Who cares? They don't give a shit. So why should I give a shit?
Magic.
He's just an inventor. Like, he
It
builds
runs on plutonium. They just skipped that part.
he builds a device that can read minds as a 12-year-old, and they never really kind of justify why he's good enough at this or understands any of these things. It's just he can.
Yeah. Why do you need an explanation? Some people are just born geniuses.
Oh, jeez. So basically, the big thing of the movie is that the robot hat is evil AI on its own. It's one of his inventions, and it's just using Villain Man, who's baseball kid, to take over the world,
Ooh.
so it can create a Skynet-style post-apocalyptic wasteland. Although I did notice that most of the buildings had bowler hat-style designs, which
Yeah.
weird, but yeah, sure.
If you're a bowler hat,
Do you know what's funny about it though? Is
you
that,
want everything to be a pedestal.
do you know what the funny thing is though? Is that if any of the bowler hat buildings, like if the hats were tilted just a little bit, they look like dicks.
Oh yeah, you're right. That is a risky design.
Yeah, yeah.
But I
mean,
didn't notice any.
don't get me wrong though. It's not like if you ever seen like a German army helmet from like World War One,
Of
where
course I have.
it just looks like a penis head. Like I don't know what they were thinking when they designed those helmets. Like what were you doing?
I think they were just
They're literally
men
walking.
are fascinated by dicks.
They're literally walking around with
If
dick
they could
heads.
design everything to look like dicks, I'm sure they would. It's the first thing they learn how to draw.
There's some truth in that. Right, so
Meet the
Lewis,
Robinsons.
yeah, Lewis basically realizes he realizes who the bad guy is, so he goes back in time to fix everything by making sure he wakes up at his baseball game and yada yada.
Goob has a vendetta against him because future Goob tells him he should bottle it all up and let it fester and grow into something evil instead of getting over everything. And because of Lewis that he doesn't get enough sleep for his baseball game. He stays up all night because Lewis is always up all night inventing stuff and not being considerate of his roommate. So yeah, this is the part where
Classic Lewis.
Lewis goes back and he fixes things. What are you drinking?
Water.
Soda?
No, it's water.
Okay.
White Rock spring water.
I just drink from the tap.
Yeah. I love how you're policing me though. You're like, are you drinking soda? What is that? Yes. So where were we in the plot?
Yeah, so Goob now likes Lewis because he's the hero and he has many friends.
Yes, and he also, because that's the other big thing, is that a lot of the characters, the teachers and stuff at the science fair turn out to be the characters from the future. Two of them adopt him. He also meets this little girl who believes frogs can talk and sing, but no one believes her. Because there's a funny joke actually when he's about to go back to the past after he's fixed everything, where his wife from the future, like something kneels down and goes, "Hey, by the way, a bit of advice. I'm always right, even when you think I'm wrong. I'm right." And grown up, because at this point we've met grown up.
Yeah,
Lewis.
Cornelius grown up says, or Lewis grown up, who changes his name to Cornelius, says,
Yeah.
She's right.
Yeah, she's right, by the way. So this
Do you
is
know who plays him?
No,
Who plays older Lewis?
I do not. Who played all
Tom
the
Selleck.
Really?
Yeah.
That's actually pretty funny. Okay, that's good. That's a good bit of trivia. But he so this is when he puts it into practice though, is when little girl version of his wife's like, no, I like frogs, but no one believes me. They all think I'm crazy. You think I'm crazy too, don't you? He's like, no, I think you're right. I believe you. You're right. He's put it into practice, you see. He's realised it's her. He's like, nope, she's always right. I'll take that advice to heart.
It must be so great knowing that who your spouse is going to be when you get older. It's just one less thing to have to worry about, right?
I know. He just knows who it is his whole life.
Right. One less thing.
Yeah. But yeah, so a lot of these characters turn out to be people that he's kind of in his adopted family in the future. So, and it all kind of ties up. But he does get taken back. The one promise that I've forgotten his name already. Wilbus.
Wilbur.
Wilbur. Wilbur.
What is Wilbus?
It's an equally futuristic sounding name. So
Wilbur is an old sounding name.
well, I've never heard of it, so it sounded weird and futuristic to me. So Wilbur promised to take him to see his mother. So they go back to the night that she reenacted Super Mario Brothers and left him on the porch, just like Daisy was left on the porch of the orphanage. And of course, he does exactly what I thought he was going to do, where he chooses not to see who she was because she made this choice.
Forward.
As he keep moving forward, which was a quote that Walt Disney himself said, so they make a point of
I know,
showing
isn't
that at
that
the end.
so nice? Like, I got a little misty-eyed at the quote.
Keep moving forward, make the next 50 Marvel movies. Profit, profit,
That was
profit.
Walt Disney's quote.
No, but that's how it's been interpreted in the present day. Is this like, no, more
Well,
Marvel,
you
more
can
Star
blame
Wars.
Bob Iger for that. Though why would you?
Make all the monies. Make all the monies. Crush all the competition.
Hear the
Whoa.
lamentation of the women.
That face says it all because we just probably had like a 30-minute tangent about whether or not Marvel movies are cinema. You can get that on patreon.com/RealFuzzTV for $1 or more per month. Probably up before this review even goes up. So, yes. Are we ready to rate the movie? Like, are we ready to talk about anything else that happened at the end? Like,
Yes, let's rate it.
let's rate it.
We still have Laser Blast to talk about.
We do. We have a Mystery Science Theater episode to talk about. So what would you rate Meet the Robinsons?
It's a 7.
Hey, you picked this movie, right? This is on you.
Yes. It's a 7. I think it's a really fun film. It's got a lot of heart. I like the message of positivity and helping out your neighbor. And I think it's a fun little gem of a Disney movie that kind of got lost. I think it's good.
And it's a solid 6. It's fine, inoffensively. Okay. Couple of good jokes. Message is in the right place. The heart's in the right place. But I don't think anything really stands out about it. And Tara made me watch it.
I'm glad you're on the positive side.
Well, it's not bad.
No, it's not.
It's not a bad movie. It's just there. It exists.
I like it. I like this movie.
Clearly, so this is the most derailed we probably have ever went on a movie. And maybe it'll happen every so often when something isn't super captivating to dissect on its own. And I'm not What was that? I'm not throwing shade at you for picking it. I'm not. I'm really not. I'm just saying that sometimes this can happen if the movie doesn't have a lot to dig into. What does that look?
I'm finished talking about the movie.
Okay. Are you ready for Mystery Science Theater?
Yes.
Do you know the sad part about this is I have to admit that Rocket Man was a success because you made me watch that, but that had this charm to it that I couldn't stop dissecting it scene by scene the entire time. This I'm just disinterested in and have nothing to say about.
I like this movie. I recommend people watch it, especially if you have kids.
I'm sorry.
Let's talk about something you do care about.
Laser Blast! Yes, Mystery Science Theater 2000. It's been a while since we had one of these. We've been letting it slip. We had things to do over the last month. And we are finally here. I even got a little bit of notes for some jokes I wanted to remember. Laser Blast was the final episode, and was it season 7? Was the last short season on Comedy Central. So it had a bit of a finality to it, even though the movie came out like pretty soon after, and then Sci-Fi picked it up for more seasons. But last episode with Dr. Forrester, and Mike's still there, or is already there, I should say. And the movie itself is about an alien weapon that fires lasers that is stranded on Earth, and this
Shirtless boy.
this shirtless blank slate of a character finds it and becomes kind of enthralled with it, and we'll go down that path in a minute. But
His girlfriend's like, "Why can't you be more ordinary?" And Mike's like, "More ordinary?"
Firefly, why are you standing in my lap like that? You're just sort of standing there as if you're like thinking about things. Like, come on, there you go. Bye, cat.
Am I loud enough?
Yeah, why?
Okay. My door's open, so I'm trying not to be too loud.
Okay, yeah. Gus has been a menace.
Yeah.
So, I'm surprised Tara waited as long as she did to pick this one. Because this one is full of two things. It is full of Star Trek references, and it is full of references to 2001: A Space Odyssey. Two of Tara's favourite things. So, very early on, as soon as this idiot finds the laser blast device, which is more of like a... There's a lot of jokes about it being like a poster tube on the show.
Mm-hmm.
You sort of stick your hand all the way in it, and it's kind of like this weirdly shaped firearm. But as soon as he finds it, there's a lot of shots of him just kind of like aiming it around as if he's a kid, and he's like pretending to go pow 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 and like pew pew pew, and he's holding it up, and it's kind of almost in slow motion. The sun's behind him, so the guys all start making jokes, making like ape noises, because it looks like 2001, the opening of that. And that's not the only 2001 joke. There's like 3 or 4 of them throughout the whole thing. In the end, the entire ending, Dr. Forrester goes through the rebirth of the Star Child. Earlier on, when the space...
I love that the monolith is just a VHS, a giant VHS of the worst movie ever made.
So, Batman v Superman.
So appropriate.
Somehow.
You can fill in the blank.
Yeah. Timelines be damned. It's Batman v Superman. But, you know, like, there's a whole joke where they're going through a Star Child field, and there's all these, like, dolls outside they're having to wade through. There's all that stuff.
Yeah, when they're cranky, they need to be changed.
Knight dresses up as Janeway at one point and gives some...
Oh, he's phenomenal.
Starfleet orders.
He's just so poised and...
It's just such a you episode. Like I'm surprised it took this long. But
yeah, I love this episode.
Yes, we open the episode with we assume we're on an alien planet because of who we're looking at, but it's like a green dude who's got the laser blast thing, and he's been hunted by 2 stop motion animated aliens who are kind of like disease looking ET knockoffs.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you right now, there's some severe inconsistencies throughout the film as to how tall these things are, because sometimes you look like they're maybe like up to like waist height.
People height.
Yeah. And then sometimes you look like they're like 50 foot tall, and they're using like techniques to have people be tiny compared to them.
Yeah.
Very inconsistent. And they don't speak English. They speak like, which they shouldn't. It's actually it's a good thing they're not speaking English, but there's no subtitles. We just watch them make noises at each other.
Yeah, but the dialogue is filled in by Tom Servo and Crow T Robot pretty well.
Oh yeah. Some of the best jokes actually. But this kid who like, it's actually kind of almost a joke later on when he finally puts on a t-shirt, because he's not either topless or with a button shirt that's opened. Because one of the jokes I realised, like, I figured out this top. It's really easy, no buttons. Like, you know. So I know another joke actually, because basically the plot is that once he's found this laser weapon, it kind of like turns him evil, like as he's wearing it. So he turns green and starts like killing people he doesn't like. So he's got a green face. So there's a running gag throughout where the guys will say like Jim Carrey quotes where they'll be like, "Somebody stop me."
Righty then.
Yeah. Although was Alright then ever actually using the mask? I feel like that was more of an Ace Ventura thing.
It's true.
It was using both.
I think they're just doing I think they were just doing Jim Carrey references.
Yeah, that's fair. But
it's definitely funny. More of a mask because of the green face.
But that was one that really caught me off guard the first time they cracked that joke. They did that a few times, but the first time really made me laugh. It was really good. Yeah. And also a lot of Planet of the Apes jokes, because Roddy McDowell's got a small role in here.
I know
So
we got some star power in this one.
yeah, so there's a lot of jokes when he's around, about him calling the guys, was it Starry Eyes? What did he call
Bright eyes.
Bright Eyes? That's what they called Charlton Heston in the movie. So some jokes there as well, which kind of almost leads into the 2001 jokes because that also featured apes. There's,
Indeed, that's true.
it's almost like there's continuity between the jokes and the references. That it's a fluid chain of thought.
There's a lot of jokes about Roddy McDowell's career choices,
Mm-hmm.
career path in general. How did I end up here? I was in the Poseidon Adventure.
Actually, so one of my favorite jokes was these two dumb cops who keep popping up, and they've got like a captain. There's also this, I assume, FBI guy who comes in, who I actually cracked the Bob Evil joke from Time Chasers at one point when he first appeared, because the way he walks into the room is like, yeah, hey, I'm Bob Evil.
I use that line a lot when I watch movies, and the guy walks in and they're clearly the bad guy.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Bob Evil.
But they have a couple of running gags. One is just kind of a stupid running gag where, and when I say running gag, this is not they're joking. This is in the movie. There's a running gag where the skinny one
turn him into the comic relief in the movie.
Yeah, the skinny one's doing something. He's either getting high or he's eating food or something. And the joke's always that the big guy's like, "How can you do that?" And he rambles for about a minute about why he shouldn't be doing the thing, and then says, "Oh, give me a bite." Like he always ends up joining in whatever he's doing. That's kind of a running
and then
gag.
he ends up getting in trouble, not the skinny guy.
Yeah, but the running joke in the actual Mystery Science Theater jokes that wasn't that funny at first. It was mildly amusing at first, which is the big guy. Whenever he's talking, like one of them is like, "Oh, yeah, I'm ready for football," and he always says he's
ready for some football.
He's always saying he's ready for football, and he's talking about football and how he needs to be ready for football. He's always ready for football.
I think it's a reference to a '90s commercial.
That sounds plausible.
Or it might have been, I didn't watch football at the time, or it might have been like just like an intro to when football games started. Like they had a guy who looked like that with a cowboy hat.
Sure,
who would say, "Are you ready for some football?" So
but,
I think he's a reference to a guy, but I don't know exactly where it's from.
Well, it was really amusing even not knowing the reference, if it is a reference. But
I mean, I still laugh at it. Yeah.
But what made the joke good though? What made it perfect? What sort of made it all worth it? The payoff to it is later on when so one of the things that happens to our main character, he gets this like sort of metal like thing on his chest. It's like a metal metal rash or something. I don't even know what you call it. Right?
I think it's an abscess.
Sure, a metal abscess. There you go. I've had abscesses, not a metal one though. A metal one sounds particularly painful. But when the cops sort of request to see this thing when they're questioning him, he opens his shirt and it cuts to the fat cop and he's like, "I'm not ready for football anymore." That line made the build up because he says it maybe like 3 times throughout the movie that he's ready for football. When he gets to that point and then Mike says, "I'm not ready for football anymore," it was such a good payoff. It was really freaking funny.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
That was gold.
I like his face on on the actor was just so much like grotesque disappointment.
I actually cracked another joke from Time Chasers just because there was like a plane flying by in the background at one point, and it looked like the little biplane from Time Chasers. So I started cracking jokes.
That was like the late season 8, I think.
Time away, mate. So it was a time travel movie. They've traveled back in time to
You're
this
right.
movie.
It checks out.
It checks out, exactly. My favourite joke, though, was nothing that I've even mentioned so far. As good as the Star Trek jokes are, as good as the 2001 jokes are, my favourite joke is actually a reference to another Mystery Science Theater, and this is the first time I think I've actually gotten a reference to another episode because we've watched this other one first. Warrior of the Lost World was the Robert Ginty one where he had the bike that talked. There was the big murder. What was the big truck called again? They were chanting because it was killing them.
No, mega weapon.
Mega weapon, right. So there was that really awkward kiss at the end of that movie where he kisses the woman who's kind of the love interest, but they've not really had any chemistry whole movie. But the kiss lasts so long and it's uncomfortable. So there's a kiss scene at one point in this movie and it's so disgusting to look at that one of them just says, Robert Ginty kisses better than this, which was the actor from that movie, and because I know who the actor is, so I got that part, and then I've seen that episode, so that really made me laugh because it's the first time I've gotten a reference to another episode.
Yeah, that's a Joel episode too, so it's a real stretch for them to do that.
Yeah, there. Honestly, I mean, the movie does slow down at parts, where there's just like scenes of them like staring at things, like the camera's just sort of.
There's a lot of scenes with him and his girlfriend that are just like.
There's a whole scene where she comes to try and find him at this picnic spot that he set up, and she can't find him, and she like looks in the same like 3 places like 5 times, and then.
Except for my cat.
Oh, and then he jumps out the van, but it spends like a good 2 minutes following her. Just like I say, following, it doesn't even follow her with the camera. It just like has this wide shot, and she's like looking around like for ages, and it's really dull.
Just calling his name,
and
it leads to nowhere.
There's a bunch of scenes like that, but there is some genuinely funny stuff. Anything with the laser gun actually going off is pretty funny, even without the commentary. The main character's such a dolt that he's kind of funny to make fun of.
Yeah, if only he were more ordinary.
But the jokes are good. That's the main thing here. Is a Mystery Science Theater episode. The jokes are really thick and fast, and they're really funny.
Yeah, it's definitely a good one for jokes. I think it's not my favorite episode because the movie like just drags sometimes, and that could, even when the jokes are good, I'm just like, ugh, it's getting difficult. But I do really like this one. It has a lot of great jokes and highly recommend. Definitely my top must watch.
Yeah, obviously it's just the cops kind of chasing him and trying to stop him. The aliens come back. They get grilled out by their boss on the ship. So they have to turn around and come to Earth and kill him. So the movie just ends with him getting killed by the aliens. The alien shoots him from like at the top of a building. Again, the perspective of how big this alien's supposed to be is really warped and makes no sense. Yeah. But the girlfriend's like crying over his dead body, and that's the end of the movie. Laser blast.
Laser blast. Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, that's a fun episode. So there you go. I recommend it. Check it out. But that brings an end to a surprisingly meaty episode, although mostly off topic. At least it feels that way to us because we had like a 30-minute Marvel tangent, which will be cut out and put as a separate thing on Patreon. But it got heated, if that makes it sound interesting.
It did.
Yeah. But Tara was right,
At one
of course.
point you were questioning whether or not you can even put it on the Patreon page.
Yeah, because
might be too heated.
I thought it was too hot to handle. Yeah. But as Tara pointed out, or referenced the movie, Tara is always right even when she's wrong. So I just have to concede at this point that Tara was right and live with it.
Agreed.
That has been the Atomic Cinema Experiment for Meet the Robinsons.
What's coming up next time?
That's a good question. I have no idea, so I'm going to go find out right now.
Oh, I know.
Oh, you tell me then. You want to go if you've got it ready. Alphaville's next. Oh, okay. Going old school, going classy. All right.
And I think that the next Mystery Science Theater we should watch will be the first episode of season 8.
So the one after this.
Which is Return of the Creature of the Black Lagoon. Yeah, I think just for consistency reasons, like it'll be good to see how the characters return since we saw them go away.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. I like it. Yeah. Continuity. Tell me the story.
And I think, but just on one time. Then we'll go back to random that I choose.
Selected by you, yes, but all over the place. Okay, so Return of the Creature of the Black Lagoon will be the next Mystery Science Theater episode. Although probably not next week though. I can guarantee it's not next week for 2 reasons. One, we're recording a Patreon bonus episode, and 2, Terminator Dark Fate's out. So
yeah, we're gonna have a busy week.
We have a busy week next week, so there'll be no Mystery Science Theater, but lots of content. Although a lot of it will already be up by the time this episode goes up, because those will go straight up. So that is what's coming next. You can, of course, support everything we do by rating the podcast on Apple Podcasts, giving us 5 stars. It helps us find new audience because it recommends us out more and that kind of thing. Tara did tell you earlier about patreon.com, so go over there and support us for as little as $1 per month. That helps us out a lot. Helps feed my cats, so go do that. So you could go do that. And yeah, and by the time this goes up, it will be in November. So look out for the new vote going up for patrons at the $5 tier and up. In fact, by the time you see this, you'll know which won the previous vote, which I am very curious about because it's a very neck and neck race right now between two things. I can't tell you what two because no one's supposed to know yet what's winning, but I know what's winning because I can see those results.
It won't matter by this time, right?
That's true, actually. Yeah. By the time this goes up, the winner will be announced. Okay, well in that case, I can tell you right now, it's very neck and neck between RoboCop and Jurassic Park.
That is such a surprise.
You would think they'd want to torture me with Star Wars, but
yeah, if Star Wars is an option and they're not choosing it, such a surprise.
So yeah, look out for the next vote, whatever that may be. I'm sure we'll be deciding that amongst ourselves soon. But that has been the Atomic Cinema Experiment. Apologies for this being a fairly off-topic review, especially if this is your first episode. You think this must be a shambles every week. It's actually usually quite focused. We usually get into the movie quite in depth.
Mm-hmm.
Just not this week.
But Peter had a vendetta against this film, much like Goob has against Lewis.
I love that I didn't know what that character's name was until you said it like 2/3 through that review.
Bowler hat guy.
I was the baseball kid, the bowler hat guy. That was my two options. But yeah, that has been us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Come back next time for Alphaville, which should prove interesting. I've never seen it. First time watch for me. Thank you once again. Keep watching sci-fi movies. We'll see you next time. And computer, add salsa.
Yum yum.